Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays. Stay safe on the roads and have a beautiful New Year in 2025. Jesse Waters suggests a special prosecutor role for Matt Gaetz. This is a recent article on the subject, but there's other talk about Matt Gaetz becoming a special prosecutor or perhaps taking Rubio's Senate seat. There's an outside possibility of Speaker of the House. He'll be somewhere very prominent in Trump's administration eventually because he was not charged with a crime. He was not charged with a crime. It was an ethics report, some say was written by Democratic Party staffers. And if you're going to prevent Matt Gaetz from any role, then you should look into the allegations against the sitting president. Joe Biden was accused of the most despicable behavior right before he became president. Okay, when he was running for president, suddenly Democrats and media did not believe the individual accusing him of absolutely criminal and despicable and sinister and diabolical behavior. I don't want to get into it in the first 3 minutes. You can look up what Biden was accused of. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. I want you to watch this. This is one of the foundations of everything going on with Matt Gaetz. Hit subscribe, then you'll hear from Gaetz and others. But he will become either a special prosecutor or some prominent role within Trump's administration because he's been at the forefront of pretty much everything in the last 8 years pertaining to Trump and pertaining to Democrats and media and very corrupt intel officials accusing Trump of things he didn't do. Trump was never a Kremlin operative. He never tried to commit a rebellion. These are absurd, outlandish leaps of logic that cost not only Democrats the 2024, but gave Trump the popular vote, every battleground state, the Senate, the House, the presidency, and the Supreme Court. Hit subscribe to the channel right now. We're almost at 270,000 subs, people. Thank you so very much. This, by the way, is the beginning of a concerted effort by certain Republicans to go after Matt Gaetz. I'm not saying Kevin McCarthy. I'm just saying that you just look what happened. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is pretty much the beginning of everything. How is the sound? Is the sound okay, ladies and gentlemen? Does the sound all right? Let me know if the sound isn't okay. But hit subscribe to this channel. Let's get to another very, very interesting exchange between Matt Gaetz. So you saw Matt Gaetz and Kevin McCarthy. And the initial confrontation. And since then, there's been a concerted effort at going after Matt Gaetz. Okay? This is also one of the reasons he'll be a prominent role in Trump's administration. Not many people have done this in Congress.
Let's tell you what, Mr. Chairman. I seek unanimous consent to enter into the record of this committee the contents of Hunter Biden's laptop, which I'm in possession of.
I'm not.
Check out Nadler's reaction. Do you think that he would react in the same way if it was Eric Trump's laptop or Donald Trump Jr.'s laptop or Jared Kushner's laptop? Do you think that he would react in the same way, ladies and gentlemen? Check this out.
What, Mr. Chairman? I seek unanimous consent to enter into the record of this committee the contents of Hunter Biden's laptop, which I'm in possession of.
I'm not.
There's no objection to that.
So I can't say no objection.
He's being coached by a staffer, and he doesn't know what to do. So you can see that all of this public relations onslaught against Matt Gaetz, the man wasn't charged with anything. But Joe Biden was accused of the most despicable act before his presidency. So, again, he's the one who stated, "You are not who you are." So Biden said to Charlemagne the God, "You are not who you are if you don't vote for me." That I'm cleaning up what he said. Okay, far more divisive and polarizing than anything Trump has ever said ever. But Democrats and media work in unison. Media is essentially an extension of the Democratic Party. So you didn't hear really about that. I mean, you heard it for a second with the Washington Post. Within 30 minutes, I counted, and others came out with articles defending Biden after having said that very, very insulting, "You ain't who you are if you don't vote for me," Biden told Charlemagne the God. Again, I'm cleaning it up just because I don't want to get lost in the mud here of everything Democrats have said and done. But then, right around that time, he's accused by a female, Biden is, Joe, of doing the most horrendous thing possible. And, of course, Democrats and media went after the person making the allegation. Then you have the third major public relations monstrosity event was the laptop. So you had Biden's statement to Charlemagne the God. Then you have the accusation against Joe. Then you have Hunter's laptop, where 50 intelligence officials come out of nowhere and lie to the country. Okay, how do these people still have the ability to make money on intelligence issues? I don't get it, but let's continue.
I've never had.
I will object pending further investigation.
And what's the basis of that objection?
It's a unanimous consent request.
It's a unanimous consent request. I mean, why are you asking me? You know we're the Democrats. We're not going to actually want the truth about Hunter's laptop. We had 50 intelligence officials, come out and lie to the country. That's saying it was a Kremlin operation. Everything that you stub your toe, Hunter's laptop, anything that's negative to the Democratic Party, of course, it's, what the Russians wanted. Why are you asking about the basis for my objection? Of course, we're just going to object. We had 50 intel officials lie about it. There's very likely bribery and graft, and we'll indict Hunter on charges that have nothing to do with the overall, the major reasons the intel officials lied about the laptop, which is essentially what Democrats in Tammany Hall used to call honest graft. Okay? So, in addition to very similar things that Matt Gaetz is being accused of, by one estimate, you have hundreds of thousands of dollars paid by Hunter. By one estimate, according to the New York Post, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Something upwards of over 500 grand, something like that, to individuals who perform services in the evening, let's just say.
Request, and I object pending.
Very well, I have a subsequent question. Mr. Chairman, I seek unanimous consent to enter into the record the receipt
It may very well be
from the Mac
entered-
shop.
It may very well be entered into the record after we look at it further.
Very well, Mr. Chairman, I have a
Ms.
subsequent
Demings is
unanimous
now
consent.
recognized.
Who's got a second unanimous consent?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I seek unanimous consent to enter into the record the receipt from the Department of
Mr.
Justice
Chairman, this is
to
Ms.
the
Demings.
Mac
Am I
shop.
next, or
Without,
am I next?
without objection, and now Ms. Demings.
So, Hunter's, okay, so for example, you have scandal after controversy hidden by Democrats and media who were very, very good. They were excellent at hiding every single possible scandal there could be. Okay? So they were really, really good at preventing the truth from coming out. Okay? And so, just really good at that. But let's continue.
Attorney General, you've told us that it's a dangerous conspiracy theory to allege that the Department of Justice is communicating with these state and local prosecutions against Trump. You can clear it all up for us right now. Will the Department of Justice provide to the committee all documents, all correspondence between the department and Alvin Bragg's office and Fonnie Willis's office and Letitia James's office?
The offices you're referring to are independent offices of state.
I get that. I get that.
State.
The question is whether or not you will provide all.
So Merrick Garland lies by omission, just like very popular, famous pundits on the left who have huge channels. They lie by omission. Okay? Of course, they're independent. They're state governments. So he's not lying. But are they truly independent politically? Why do you think the lead up to 24 was all dominated with coverage of Trump getting indicted in New York and all the other indictments in Georgia, Florida, and D.C.? Okay, the reason is that state prosecutors almost certainly, state prosecutors, their efforts against Trump coincided with the political efforts of the Biden administration, because they're all Democrats. This isn't rocket science. If the tables were turned, Democrats would say Trump and his lackeys, Trump and his cronies, are trying to utilize an authoritarian method against their direct political rivals. But then, when Democrats, in unison, go after Trump on a state and federal level, they did so on their own. They had zero input from the federal government. It was all based on the rule of law. Well, it wasn't. The conviction in New York was unconstitutional. A state cannot level a federal statute without the Department of Justice involved. The Department of Justice and the FEC both dropped the case. It was Clinton and the DNC that actually had the fine leveled against them. They're the ones who committed a fine with the Steele dossier. If you understand politics, you realize that Democrats believe in fantasies, things that aren't real. The 2016 primary, the 2024 primary, both of which were taken from their respective, Bernie Sanders was railroaded, and Biden, what happened with Biden in 24 was even worse. Okay, Bernie Sanders could have won that primary, but the cards were stacked against him, and at the end of the day, even Elizabeth Warren and Donna Brazile and others stated, oh yeah, he was cheated. But there's no semblance of meritocracy within Democratic Party primaries. They believe in Steele dossiers. They believe that the Steele dossier was literally purchased by Democrats. They think that Trump tried to foment a rebellion. He tried to incite an actual rebellion with doors being opened and security camera footage being withheld, exculpatory evidence being withheld by Liz Cheney and others. They literally think that he tried to rebel against the United States of America with a speech, and then the Supreme Court says, nah, that's not true. It's like they believe these absurd extensions of logic, leaps of logic, that make no sense at all, and Trump wins the popular vote. Trump has won the popular vote with Democrats to this day, believing he's a Kremlin operative who tried to rebel against the country and is accused of everything heinous under the sun. Meanwhile, Biden was accused of the same terrible, despicable, barbaric, criminal activity right before he became president. And media just descended upon the person accusing him. But, I mean, you have to be a loyal Democratic Party voter, you have to believe in things that don't exist. They say the same thing about Trump and Trump voters, but the problem is we don't have a dossier. Trump never purchased a dossier against anybody. He doesn't have private servers for convenience and yoga. He doesn't have 50 intel officials lying about laptops. Let's continue.
All of your documents and correspondence. That's the question. I don't need a history lesson.
Well, I'm going to say again, we do not control those offices. They make their own decisions.
The question is whether you communicate with them, not whether you control them. Do you communicate with them, and will you provide those communications?
If you make a request, we'll refer it to our Office of Legislative Affairs.
But see, here's the thing. You come in here and you lodge this attack that it's a conspiracy theory that there is coordinated lawfare against Trump. And then when we say, fine, just give us the documents, give us the correspondence, and then if it's a conspiracy theory, that will be evident. But when you say, well, we'll take your request, and then we'll sort of work it through the DOJ's accommodation process, then you're actually advancing the very dangerous conspiracy theory that you're concerned about. Now, you were a judge, once nominated the highest court in our country. When you were a judge, I'm just curious, did you ever make political donations to partisan candidates?
No.
No, and you didn't because that would create the potential appearance of impropriety.
I didn't because there's a federal rule barring federal judges from making contributions.
Right, but under that same theory of attacks on the judicial process, like shouldn't someone be owed like a jury of their peers and a judge that's non-biased rather than getting a judge from your political opponent's donor file?
Well, I'm well aware that you're not asking a hypothetical. You're asking me to comment on a jury verdict in another jurisdiction which has to be respected. I won't comment on it. That case is still ongoing. The defendant
Mr. Attorney General, I hadn't asked you about the verdict yet. We were getting there. I was talking about the judge. And so let me ask you this question about your time as a judge. Was there ever a time when you were a judge when you had a family member who was personally profiting off of the notoriety of a case that was before your court?
Look, I'm going to say again, it's very clear you're asking me to comment on a case in another jurisdiction.
No, wait, hold on, Mr. Attorney General. Did you ever have a family member profit off of the notoriety of any case that you sat over?
Say again, you're asking
yes or no?
You're asking me to comment on a case currently.
Well, it seems you're connecting the dots, Mr. Attorney General. I'm just asking you as to a general principle, but you are aware that Judge Merchan's daughter was profiting off of this prosecution. You are aware that that creates the appearance of impropriety. You know the very reason there's a federal rule against judges giving donations is because it is the very attack on the judicial process that we're concerned about.
I'm sorry, I don't agree with anything you just said, but I'm not going to comment on it.
Okay, so you won't comment on it, Mr. Attorney General, but you had no problem dispatching Matthew Colangelo. Who's Matthew Colangelo?
That is false. I did not dispatch Matthew Colangelo.
Matthew Colangelo became the Assistant Attorney General at the very beginning of the Biden administration. Without having been Senate confirmed, goes and gets this senior role at the DOJ, and then after, I believe it's Gupta replaces Colangelo, Colangelo makes this remarkable downstream career journey from the U.S. Department of Justice in Washington, D.C., and then pops up in Alvin Bragg's office to go get Trump. And you're saying that's just a career choice that was made that has nothing to do with the lawfare coordinated by the DOJ.
I'm saying it's false. I did not dispatch Mr. Colangelo anywhere.
So again, a lie by omission. He doesn't have to have he wouldn't have had to have dispatched anyone. Okay? It's true. Merrick Garland did not dispatch a top DOJ official to New York to have a federal presence within a state trial. He didn't dispatch the person. Did he give tacit approval? Did he simply ignore a tremendous conflict of interest because it helped the Democratic Party? I mean, you can't lie to the American people through by citing bureaucracy. I didn't dispatch. I am the Attorney General. That official decided on his own. Okay. But everyone knows it benefited one political side. If the tables were turned, they would say that Trump told this person to go and go after his direct political rivals. The Democrats have been crying wolf for 8 years about Trump, and they've embodied all the terrible things they accuse Trump of doing. They've done to Trump. They've embodied the fear of Trump with their own actions. Okay, they've embodied their own fears of Trump by acting in the same manner they fear he would act, or that he will act. So here you have Trump's enemies list. Well, you had an enemies list. Roger Stone was taken out of his house in the morning hours. The CNN was there. I mean, Giuliani, Steve Bannon. I mean, all of these people. I mean, you had, during the Clinton email probe, people who literally refused to testify after a congressional subpoena. Jason Chaffetz, during the Clinton email probe, had a number of people demanded testimony from these people. They completely ignored the congressional demand, subpoena for testimony, and nothing happened to them. But Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon and others were either given or threatened with jail time. And the double standard is unbelievable. Democrats are much better at using government and bureaucracy against Republicans. The tables have turned now. You have every major department, Central Intelligence, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Department of Justice, every single one it has a leader now that will be confirmed by the Senate, who will uproot the entire corrupt system. They are firmly not just loyal to Trump, the way Merrick Garland was loyal to Biden, but they have Trump's vision of politics, which is, hey, you go after your direct political rivals, which is what Democrats did illegally. Okay, once you lose political power and influence, you're then going to get indicted yourself, possibly imprisoned.
Well, do you know how he ended up there?
I assume he applied for a job there and got the job.
But see, you know what?
I can tell you I had nothing to do with it.
Well, you might not have had anything to do with it, but we've got this contemporaneous evidence in Mr. Pomerantz's book. So Pomerantz writes this book, which I'm sure you're aware of, where he says, we put together the legal eagles to get Trump. We got all these folks together and we assembled them for that purpose. And so when we on the Judiciary Committee think about attacks on the judicial process, our concern is that the facts and the law aren't being followed. A target is acquired, here, Trump, and then you assemble the legal talent from DOJ, Mr. Pomerantz, and you bring everybody in to get him. And meanwhile, the judge is making money on it. The judge is making money on it, or the judge's family is making money on it for stuff that you yourself wouldn't do. You know, no one's going to buy this. No one's going to believe it. It's going to create great disruption. And I am saddened by it because, like you, I have given my life to the law. I care deeply about the law. And I think that the lawfare we've seen against President Trump will do great damage well beyond our time.
And so a lot of people are laughing. If Democrats watch this, they'll laugh. Oh, you gave your life to the law. It's an ethics report written by congressional Democrats, almost certainly. It's the ethics committee. Half of it, well, it's run by Republicans, but half of it is Democrats, possibly Republicans that don't like, or one or two that don't like Matt Gaetz because the whole Kevin McCarthy issue. But if you go after Matt Gaetz, why did you vote for Biden? Why did you defend Hunter? They were also accused but not charged. Gaetz was accused but not charged. So when Democrats are accused of the most despicable things but not charged, that's okay. That's just a Republican plot. Or I should say, a Kremlin operation. Let's continue with this.
I just want to say that, we know billions of dollars have been funding these animal experiments, both here domestically.
Aggressive, most dangerous.
Has anyone at the department
I mean, don't you want Matt Gaetz as a special prosecutor listening to him, ladies and gentlemen? I mean, don't you want this man as a special prosecutor? He's pretty good in terms of connecting dots and investigations and understanding the big picture.
wondering, Mr. Attorney General, has anyone at the department told President Biden to knock it off with Hunter? I mean, you guys are charging Hunter Biden on some crimes, investigating him on others. You've got the president bringing Hunter Biden around to.
The point is that bribery and graft allegations are completely ignored. Then, of course, Hunter was pardoned, so there you go. There you go. He was we go from 50 intel officials and Biden being the most popular candidate of all time with over 80 million to Hunter getting pardoned, and prior to that, Biden being forced out for somebody who's infinitely less popular and polled worse than him. Of course, then if you're a denier, if you question how all this took place, you would be a fool not to be suspicious of the past 4 years. An absolute fool.
State dinners. Has anyone told him to knock it off?
Our job in the Justice Department is to pursue our cases without reference to what's happening in the outside world.
Just yes or no. Have you done that?
That is what we do.
So it's a no?
No one that I know of has spoken to the White House about the Hunter Biden case.
I'm wondering then.
Of course not.
Okay, I got it. So Hunter Biden is selling.
Okay, here's what Democrats do. They play this shell game, this semantic shell game. Well, of course nobody. These are lies by omission. The top Democratic, top liberal pundits or progressive pundits or whatever with million sub channels, they lie by omission. Well, where's the evidence that Biden's going up? You're not going to get a signed letter from Merrick Garland to Biden pledging allegiance and loyalty. That's not ever going to happen. But you're going to have Biden's Department of Justice work in concert with state governments, state prosecutors, state courts to go after Trump right before 2024. That's obvious. If you have liberal Democrats in the Department of Justice and liberal Democrats in Biden's White House, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that they're going to work in concert with one another without having to communicate. People of the same political side, with the same ideology, don't need to communicate all the time to achieve the same political objective. You'd have to be a complete buffoon not to understand that.
Selling art to pay for his $15,000 a month rent in Malibu. How can you guarantee that the people buying that art aren't doing so to gain favor with the president?
The job of the Justice Department is to investigate criminal allegations. You have information.
Are you investigating this? I mean, someone who bought Hunter Biden's art ended up with a prestigious appointment to a federal position. Doesn't it look weird that he's become this immediate success in the art world as his dad is president of the United States? Isn't that odd?
I'm not going to comment about any specific.
Not going to comment, not going to investigate. So
right.
Hunter Biden associate Devin Archer told us that Hunter sold the appearance of access to then Vice President Biden. Are you confident he has stopped doing that?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
Hunter Biden associate Devin Archer told us that Hunter sold the appearance of access to then Vice President Biden. Are you confident he has stopped?
I'm going to say again that all these matters are within the purview of Mr. Weiss. I have not interfered with them, and I do not.
But if you were confident that he had stopped, you could.
And I do not intend to
us.
interfere with him.
So it was a lot of Chinese money that was working its way through these shell companies into the accounts of the Biden family. So
there was a huge, well, I wouldn't say huge, but there was a story that a bunch of left-leaning pundits pounced upon as, several big conservative channels were linked to a corporation that was indicted for taking money from shell corporations linked to the Kremlin. Okay. What happened with Hunter was far worse, infinitely worse. You have the vice president involved and a future president involved in potential bribery and graft through shell corporations. Not one word. Not one word. And within the indictment, by the way, they said the conservative channels were duped. Again, there's so many lies by omission that media, Democrats, people on the left will tell you. And there was lies by omission by Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld. Okay, I'm not like the never Trump or the old school Republican Party, the Bush, Cheney Republican Party. I'm not a fan of at all. They're just as corrupt as the modern day Democratic Party. Trump Republicans who want to end never-ending military conflict, that's how you vote Trump. That's how you go from Bernie Sanders to Trump. Okay, people say, well, how'd you go from Bernie to Trump? Like, for foreign policy reasons, that's why. I want to end never-ending military conflict. That's a moral imperative to do that. We didn't have all the invasions and problems during Trump's administration, primarily because he does not want to fund endless wars or engage in them, unlike Democrats and never-Trumpers. Very simple. Again, you don't have to have a tremendous intellect to understand all of this. It's so simple.
China initiative was set up during the Trump administration at the Department of Justice to go after the malign influence of the Chinese Communist Party. And the Biden Justice Department dissolved the China initiative. So I guess I'm wondering, does the department have any documents that would detail the basis for why you got rid of the China initiative that President Trump had set up?
The Assistant Attorney General of the National Security Division gave a long speech which explained that. He has testified before Congress several times. We'd be happy to provide you with
What's the basis? Just tell us all now.
So you don't want me to answer about North Korea?
I already know the answer, and so does everyone. They're not the same risk as China. So let's get on to serious questions and serious answers. Do you know about the money that moved through Rob Walker's shell companies, yes or no?
As I have said repeatedly, I have left these matters to Mr. Weiss. I've not intruded. I've not interfered. I've not tried to find out what he knows.
It's like you're looking the other way on purpose because everybody knows this stuff's happening. And you know what? People don't pay bribes to not get something in return. Right? The China initiative resulted in the convictions of a Harvard professor, of someone at Monsanto. So we were working against the Chinese. They paid the Bidens. And now you're sitting here telling me that North Korea is the big threat. I got to get to this one thing on January 6th. So did the FBI lose count of the number of paid informants on January 6th?
Let me answer your question about China.
I want you to answer this question. I only get 5 minutes. You've already sort of, I think, screwed the pooch on China.
So you see, Garland is... See, the truth to a bureaucrat is what they can define as truth, utilizing bureaucracy to hide the reality of the situation. So, Garland, oh, well, you know what? I never dispatched anyone. Oh, this person is handling that. You don't need, this would be, the way a bureaucrat operates it would be similar to the captain of a aircraft carrier. Okay, you can actually see, like, let's say there's 10 aircraft carriers all moving in different directions. From a bird's eye view, you can see, oh, that aircraft carrier is moving west, the other one's moving east, the other one's moving north, south. You can see these giant ships, floating at sea, sailing at sea, and you could see them from outer space or whatever, from the sky, and you know what's going on. But the vantage point of Merrick Garland is, well, you can't tell me that I informed the people steering the ship to steer a certain direction. It just happened. That's not my doing. You'll have to ask that person. Well, you're the captain of the ship, so you know what's going on. Everyone knows what's going on. Everyone knows which direction Biden's Department of Justice, from the 50 intel officials lying through their teeth to the cover-ups of so many cover-ups. There were cover-ups during the Mueller probe of people going after Trump. I mean, the Mueller probe itself was a cover-up of people going after Trump. That entire thing wasn't, oh yeah, Trump could have been a Kremlin operative. It was, okay, let's accuse him of everything under the sun, the most absurd allegations, and the people who lied, the people who actually broke the law, almost certainly, those people will be fired. Some of them will be forced to resign. Some of them will still be in government years later. But at the end of the day, it'll be very difficult to actually hold anyone accountable, because there will have been a special counsel against Trump accusing him of things he didn't do by people who knew he was innocent. So, but that's all going to change. I mean, my God, you're probably going to get at least 5, 6, 7, possibly 10 to 15 indictments by Trump within the first year. Almost certainly.
So January 6th, did you lose count of the number of federal assets? Did you lose count and order an audit?
Gentleman's time has expired.
I get an answer to the question of did they lose count?
No, let him answer the question.
The time has expired. The Attorney General can respond.
China is the most aggressive, most dangerous.
Either way.
Okay, I understand that too.
All right.
But the gentleman asked his question before his time expired. The Attorney General did not respond to the gentleman's question. I was hoping he would respond to the question about the confidential human sources on January 6th. He didn't respond to that. I'm sure we're going to get an answer to that later.
Of course,
now,
Mr. Chairman, there were 8 questions
gentleman
before that he was not given a chance to answer.
So this is another good exchange in Congress. So this is why they're going after, they've gone after Matt Gaetz for actually going after people who are corrupt, and the endless cover-ups. Hunter had a laptop. Trump never had a laptop. It's pretty obvious Trump didn't have private servers. Hunter had private servers. Clinton had private servers. There wasn't bribery and graft associated with Trump. There was with Democrats. You don't have technology hiding and shielding evidence that could be used in criminal cases against Trump. Okay, it's always some outlandish leap of logic, and Trump is accused of something. If he had private servers, you think that he would be... If Trump had private servers as president, you think he could get away with it? No. If he had a laptop full of graft and bribery, you think he'd get away with it? No. But this is very interesting.
So where is it? The laptop.
Sir, I'm not here to talk about the laptop. I'm here to talk about the FBI cyber program.
You are the assistant director of FBI cyber.
I'm not certain that you can tell a congressperson what kind of questions to ask. I'm pretty sure you swear an oath and then you're to tell the truth and that you have to answer the questions. One way or another, you could simply say, I don't know, but I don't know if you could say, I'm not here for that.
I want to know where Hunter Biden's laptop is. Where is it?
Sir, I don't know that answer.
That is astonishing to me. Has FBI cyber assessed whether or not Hunter Biden's laptop could be a point of vulnerability, allowing America's enemies to hurt our country?
Sir, the FBI cyber program is based off of what's codified in Title 18, Title 18, Section 1030, a code which talks about computer intrusions, right, using nefarious intent network.
Well, you've talked about passwords here. Hunter Biden's password on his laptop was Hunter02.
So how on earth did Clinton have servers with top secret intelligence funneled and transferred onto them for 4 years. How did that happen? How was she able to get classified emails on a 2010, 2009 BlackBerry phone, utilizing secret private servers that allegedly President Obama didn't know about? How did that happen? I mean, it's like if you were watching American politics for the last 8 years, okay, you'd have to be a complete imbecile not to ask the most basic questions. Like, wait a second, how are Democrats getting away with laptops and private servers, but Trump, because of a speech, tried to foment a rebellion against the country? Meanwhile, by the way, there were billions in property damage. And I agree with why people peacefully protested, but you had an entire summer where left-leaning protesters actually went after the White House without any condemnation or indignation from Democrats or never-Trumpers. And billions of dollars in property damage and over 20 people whose lives were lost. Every single day, there were curfews and chaos and mayhem and clashes with law enforcement. And that one day was Trump's attempt at rebelling. So what, the entire summer, was that the Democratic Party's attempt at rebelling against the country? See, again, if you use the logic against them, their logic is really absurd. But if you use that absurd logic, that's the conclusion you get to.
He drops it off at a repair store. I'm holding the receipt from Max Computer Repair, where in December 2019, they turned over this laptop to the FBI. And what now you're telling me right here is that as the assistant director of FBI Cyber, you don't know where this is after it was turned over to you 3 years ago.
Yes, sir, that's an accurate statement.
How are Americans supposed to trust that you can protect us from the next colonial pipeline if it seems that you can't locate a laptop that was given to you 3 years ago from the first family, potentially creating vulnerabilities for our country?
Sir, it's not in the purview of my investigative responsibilities.
But that is shocking that.
So a laptop full of potential bribery and graft would not be in the purview of the top cyber division person at the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Okay.
That you wouldn't, as the assistant director of cyber, know whether or not there are international business deals, kickbacks, shakedowns that are on this laptop that would make the first family suspect to some sort of compromise. Mr. Assistant Director, have you assessed whether or not the first family is compromised as a result of the Hunter Biden laptop?
Sir, as a representative of the FBI cyber program, it is not in the realm of my responsibilities to deal with the questions that you're asking me.
Has anyone at FBI cyber been asked to make assessments whether or not the laptop creates a point of vulnerability?
Sir, we have multiple lines of investigative responsibility in the FBI. They're all available in public source.
Well, I would think you'd know this one. I mean, I would think that if the president's son, who does international business deals, referencing the now president with the Chinese, with Ukrainians, I mean, have you assessed whether or not the Hunter Biden laptop gives Russia the ability to harm our country?
Sir, again, we can do this back and forth for the next couple of minutes. I don't have any information about the Hunter Biden laptop or the
But should you? I mean, you're.
Do you think that would be the case if it was the Eric Trump or Donald Trump Jr. or Jared Kushner laptop? Do you think that anything associated with Trump wouldn't be the most scrutinized piece of technological equipment of all time, where every single business deal would have been scrutinized beyond belief? And imagine if there were shell companies where Trump was taking money. See, this is the thing, like the vast majority, actually almost everyone who despises Trump knows nothing about any of this. They don't even care. They just live in a world where Trump is evil, Democrats are good, and that's it. And they don't realize that Democrats are just as corrupt as the Republican Party 20 years ago. Probably, I mean, in some ways more so, but you could talk about, I mean, damage to the world that Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld did is unbelievable. But it's like, Trump is the bad person. Actually, he's an infinitely better human being than Bush or President Obama, who destabilized an entire generation in a region of the world that has always been unstable. He intervened in Libya and caused decades of chaos. But he's still a better person than Trump, who did not do any of that stuff. But let's go ahead. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have this, ladies and gentlemen, this article. He would be an amazing special prosecutor. That's one position it's being talked about. I think that he will do something very important within Trump's administration. The first 100 days of Trump's administration is going to be pretty amazing. Hit subscribe to this channel right now, ladies and gentlemen. You see why he's a special prosecutor. You see why he would be a special prosecutor. And I mean, you just look at after just a couple of minutes with Matt Gaetz, it's like they don't want anything to do anymore with the questioning. Anyway, hit subscribe, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so very much. Stay safe on the roads this New Year's, and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year to everybody. I'll